What happened? What happened to our world? For most of us, the years since 2020, especially, seem to have changed everything. The world we now inhabit does not seem to be the same as the one that we grew up in. And I think especially for people around my age who grew up in the 70s, 80s, even 90s, the world back then seems so different to the world that we find ourselves in today. And so what's going on? What is happening? There's a lot of people talking about, timeline shifts, that they feel like they're in a different timeline because everything is so different. And you can tie into that the Mandela effect, which is just like a very, very interesting phenomenon, right? Like, is time being changed? And then we have this quickening effect, the effect that most of us seem to have less time these days. We have less time to do the things that we used to be able to do in a day, right? We can't get them done anymore. There's no longer, afternoons or weekends that sort of seem to go on forever. That seems to have gone. And the other thing that seems to be gone is the people, right? The humanness, the connection. You go out into a city these days at night time and there's nothing going on. People aren't out socializing. They're not at the movies. They're not at the pubs. They're not at the restaurants. That whole lifestyle seems to be disappearing. And of course, we can point the finger at the internet, right? The technologies, the phone, that everyone's now connecting online. And that may be true, but there's a big problem with that. And that is that we as humans crave connection. Like, we crave connection. And as far as the time thing goes, and time, we seem to have less time, or time seems to be speeding up. That's probably because we're not making memories anymore. So we don't have as many memories. So the gaps between those memories are bigger. And so time seems to be going faster. Now, you don't make memories while sitting talking on a computer, while playing video games, or while scrolling Facebook, right? Because the senses aren't involved. We're not there. We're not engaged. But when we're out with people and we're meeting new people and having interesting conversations, when we're smelling the food, when we're moving, when we're in nature, when we're involving all our senses, that's when we make proper memories. And that is what fills in our life, our timeline of our life, right? So that we feel that more is going on. So we lose this feeling of there's no time for anything anymore. That is because we've started living in the digital world. And another thing that goes along with this, and we see this a lot while trying to interact, right, with the people out there, they seem shut off, their eyes seem dull. They seem to not be able to have proper conversations, if you can talk to them at all. And a lot of that may just be trauma. Obviously 2020, the whole stuff that went on that we're still really not supposed to talk about, right? They locked us away, right? There was isolation and people were literally left alone, locked in their houses for, months, if not over a year. And this had a big psychological effect on people. And it seems that people now don't want to re-enter the world, because they're so traumatized. And put on top of that, what happened while people were separated in their own homes. The news went ballistic, right, with all the stories. It was 24/7. That Facebook and other apps, Instagram. I'm not sure if TikTok was around then, I think it was, but all these things, all this information, there was so much information coming at us from every direction, and it still is. And now we have, a lot of people who spend their time scrolling, trying to find out what's going on, what's the next story, scrolling through Facebook and TikTok and YouTube, and being bombarded with all this information, most of which has nothing to do with them, and it's all fear-based. So this is still, the whatever you want to call it, right? The establishment, the governments, those who should not be. This is all part of their agenda to keep the trauma going, to make us think that we are in the apocalypse, right? We're in the end times. Have you heard this recently that we're in the end times? The apocalypse is here. All these, the second coming is coming, apparently, all this stuff. And so a lot of what we've been fed, World War III is all this fear that the world is ending, right? And that's not a good belief system to have. It's not going to make you happy. It's not going to make you excited for the future. And this is an agenda. This is an agenda to subdue us. Because the way I see it, we're in the apocalypse, which means the unveiling. We're now seeing what these politicians, right, these criminals, we see what they're doing. We see that they're stealing all the money, that they're doing all these nefarious acts, and they can't be trusted. We're seeing all the celebrities, the movie stars and the singers. We're seeing who they really are. It's being unveiled. And this stuff has always been going on. We just haven't been able to see it. But now that the veil is lifting, we can see what's always been. And so that to me is a marker that good stuff is happening. I definitely believe that we're going into a positive charge, a positive time, raising the frequency, the new earth, whatever label you want to put on it. We're going somewhere better. But of course, those who have control and have had control for the last couple of hundred years at least, they don't want that. They don't want us freeing ourselves. They don't want us living our own lives, making our own decisions, creating our own economies and societies. They want us kept under their thumb. Why? Because they profit off us. They are literal parasites. They parasite off us. They get us to make their food and feed it to them. They get us to dig all the wealth out of the earth and then give it to them. They get us to pay taxes on our sweat equity. When we go and work and create things, they expect to be paid for it. When we do something, I mean, that is crazy. So they do not want to lose this. And of course, they are not us. They have no empathy. They don't care about us clearly, right? Look what's in the food, the water, the air, etc., etc. Now, they don't care. So all they want to do is hold on to us. So how do they do that? How do they hold on to a population and keep them believing that they're slaves? Well, they keep creating chaos, right? This is where they create something bad, perceived or real, and the population get upset and get scared, and so they are looking for an answer. And so what do the people who created the problem do? They give us an answer. They give us a solution. But it's their solution, and there's always drawbacks, right? There's always fine print. But they give us a solution, and then when we buy into it, they march us down the line, right? To the society that they want to create with the 15-minute cities, right? And all this kind of stuff. People linked in to their computers, the QR codes, social monitoring, all this stuff. This is what they want. And that's what they're trying to scare us into. They're trying to scare us into this compliance because we feel we have no other options. So we run back to Big Brother, right? To look after us. So how do we get out of this? Well, we stop asking Big Brother, right, or Mummy and Daddy to look after us. We have to become responsible for ourselves. We have to create respondability, right? Responsibility. We have to be able to respond properly for ourselves. We have to take control and understand that we're the power and no one gets to rule us. And that way we can start creating solutions. But the main thing is to get there, we've got to stop buying in to the propaganda. Stop buying into the fear that is pumped at us constantly, constantly. All of us spend too much time online. We all do, myself included, definitely. And so it might be time for the humans to have a digital detox, to stay away from your computer and your phone. And that doesn't mean you need to give it up. A lot of us, unfortunately, have to rely on computers and the internet to work, but we don't need to scroll constantly. We don't need to know every little thing that's going on in the world, right? We don't need to keep checking TikTok for the latest conspiracy theory. This is all just taking up our time and our attention and mainly putting us in fear. And the thing is, when it's taking up our time and attention, our time and attention is not on creating the lives that we want, creating the world that we want. It's not. It's focused on the information that is given to us through social media, which we should know by now is regulated content. We only see it if they want us to see it. When things go viral, they go viral because they want us to see it. It's pushed out, right? It's a story. It's his story. It's not our story. But this is what they want. And they want us to believe that everything is happening and everything is true and also that everything is bigger. We see, one bad thing happens somewhere, right? But then we see 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 different videos on it, and it makes us feel overwhelmed. It makes us feel that there's so much more going on than there is. But as I said before, most of the things going on aren't affecting us personally. And I'm not saying to not have, care and empathy for those that are affected, but if we're taking on the trauma of all these other people, things that don't have actually anything to do with our lives, it's just going to bring us down. It's just going to put us in fear. It's just going to make us feel helpless that we can't fix the whole world and change the whole world. And we can't, but we can fix our world and we can work on ourselves. And by doing that, we can affect others. We can get out there, we can put our ideas and our concepts out there. We can live as more of ourselves, and people will see that and it will affect them and they will start changing as well if they like what they see. But we can't go out and force things. We can't go out and, sack the government ourselves, right? And get rid of the tax system. That we can't do that. It's too big. So this is what puts us in this state of fear. This is what's turning everyone into these NPCs and these people that don't want to socialize. They don't want to speak to anyone. They just want to stay locked up in their room, right? Scrolling, 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 looking for the next thing to be scared of, and it's affecting us all. So it might be time to take a break from the scrolling and step outside into nature and the world and go and have some real connections with real people. Start gathering again, right? Whatever happened to the backyard barbecue on the weekend, to Thursday night drinks at the pub, to whatever, having coffee dates in the morning, like just socializing, the movies, going to the park on the weekend, all this stuff. It doesn't matter what it is, but it matters that we connect to our fellow humans because this disconnection is affecting everyone and it's affecting the human race as far as we're not standing together. We're not changing the world because we're caught up in all the minutiae, in all the propaganda, in all the fear porn that's being fed to us, right? And also, like I said before, they are taking our attention. Our attention. So our attention is no longer on us creating what we want for ourselves, family, for the future. It's got us focusing on all of their stories, all the stuff they want us to create for them, because we are creators, right? But when we focus our time watching all these stories about the bad stuff that's going on and all this confusion, we're putting our thought power, our mental power into creating that for them. Because those in control don't create, they can't create. So they use us for that. So that's a good reason to stop scrolling as much, right? To not look as much. Because if you're like me, you hate being told what to do. And this is what they're doing, surreptitiously, right? They're getting into our subconscious mind and using our mind power to create the future they want, not the future we want. So everyone is feeling, alone. And I've run lots of live events, and every single time we talk to the people that come, and that is that what they say over and over and over again. We've got no one to talk to. We feel isolated. And that's why they come to our events so they can gather and meet people. And so this is one of the solutions, guys. Just gather, just meet people, get out into the world, get out into nature, wherever it is, and have conversations, laugh, talk about life, and start creating memories again. And then once we do this, we can understand that everyone's not so different from us. Everyone really wants the same thing. And one of those things that I've heard a lot of is people want time to go back, right? They want the 80s and 90s. They want a slower time. They want an easier time. They want a more affordable time. And we can do this because this is all, it's all by design, right? All the whole economy thing, everything, it's all by design. We're being ripped off. There is no food shortage. There is no oil shortage, money shortage. All this stuff they use to basically mess with the economy and make us pay more just to live. It's all made up. It's all a show. It's the greatest show on earth, right? All the world is a stage. So if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling cut off from society, if you're feeling like time is just skipping by and you never have any time to do anything, well, get out there and make some real human connections. No matter who it is, we've all got friends, online. If there's people that you've got online that are in your area and you've never met them, go and have a coffee with them, meet them, have a conversation, feel them, hug them, right? So to know that they're human. It's all about energy, and that's what we're missing is this energy connection, this human connection. So I know it's tough out there for a lot of people at the moment. It really is, and it's confusing, and we're living in all this fear. But there is a way out, and the way out is in. Learn more about who we are, right? And the way to do that is to bring our attention back from the outside world, from all the fear porn, from all the scrolling, from all the social media. Cut down on that and refocus back on you, on what you want to create. And that is the first step. So there you go, guys. A few thoughts. Hope that helped. Please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you going through this yourself? Are you feeling isolated? And most importantly, are you going to get out there and create memories with real people, right? Start to gather again. Let me know. And please leave me a like. Subscribe if you haven't already, all that other stuff. And I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
Remember, in the end, nobody wins unless everybody wins.